Welcome back, everyone. Today's episode is a little spooky. We're talking about the dark side of branding, counterfeiters, squatters, and IP nightmares.
Yep, it's not just Fortune 500s getting haunted. Emerging brands are being targeted too, and one fake listing can do real damage.
The landscape's gotten scarier. More volume, more sophistication. You've got to slow down, be strategic, and build smarter defenses.
We'll dig into what's working now, test buys, enforcement budgets, secure AI tools, and how your fan base can help spot the fakes.
And why teaming up with experts like Tamara and Francesca is your best defense against the brand boogeyman.
Let's get into it before things get even creepier.
Welcome to the TMA Talk Show. The TMA Talk Show will take you into the heart of the TMA community, highlighting the trademark administrators as a force to be reckoned with within the intellectual property landscape. Hosted by yours truly, Emily Quackenbush, along with several surprise guest hosts, the TMA Talk Show will focus on the IP community, collaboration, and the unique contributions of each episode's special guests. This is the TMA Talk Show. Because while the rest of the world is busy building, marketing, and launching, the trademark administrator is quietly, or not so quietly, making sure you still own the name you're so proud of. Oh, and hey, of course, this goes without saying, but All Legal is a legal tech company and not a law firm. Nothing here in this episode should be considered legal advice, and this presentation expressed the views of our speakers and not necessarily those of Alt Legal, the TMAE, or the views of the hosts.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 10 of the TMA Talk Show, where we shine a light on the voices and stories shaping the TMA community. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the ghost of counterfeiters past.
That's right. And in light of the season, today's episode has a spooky twist. We're going to explore the dark world of counterfeiting and squatting.
And we are thrilled to have two experts who know how to exorcise counterfeit demons. Francesca Witzburg is the founder and managing partner at ESCA. Inspired by a love of modern culture and design, she built a cutting-edge law firm dedicated to working with brands to protect and monetize their intellectual property in our digital age. Prior to launching ESCA, Francesca worked in the Manhattan office of Dentons, one of the world's largest law firms. During the early stages of her career, she amassed in-house experience with a focus on brand protection, work for brands like Prada, Tory Burch, and Diamonds International. Francesca's business practice has evolved with the ever-changing intellectual property landscape. She is currently navigating one of the most dynamic and intriguing areas of IP, the battle against counterfeit goods. Presently, Francesca is collaborating with some of the world's most rapidly growing brands, laying a strong intellectual property foundation for them. At the same time, she's implementing a global protection and takedown strategy targeting counterfeits of today's most sought-after consumer products. Her dedication to innovation drives her to stay at the forefront of the field, ensuring she offers her clients the most effective and comprehensive protections possible.
And I'm happy to introduce and welcome Tamara Rabenold. She leads a team of investigators at Vaudra International, a firm dedicated exclusively to intellectual property and brand protection solutions. For more than 20 years, she has partnered with attorneys and brand owners to gather evidence, identify infringers, and support civil and criminal enforcement strategies across marketplaces, borders, and industries. Vaudra is known for its responsiveness, discretion, and ability to turn complex leads into actionable results. The team is committed to quality investigative service and continually refines its craft, learning, adapting, and innovating to support client objectives and stay ahead of bad actors. Their work includes evidential buys, background intelligence, undercover outreach, anonymous IP acquisitions, and global supply chain tracing. Tamara began her career in marketing before joining Vaudra in 2004 as an investigator. She became CEO in 2015 and acquired the company in 2021. Today, Vaudra is a WeBank certified women's enterprise. She has been an active INTA committees for more than 8 years and is a proud supporter of brand action. Friends, if I may add a little plug here, please check out episode 3, Branding Together in Times of Crisis, where we featured here on the TMA Talk Show Brand Action. Check it out. Welcome, Tamara. Friends, we are starting with something a little different today. Instead of our usual rapid fire questions, we're going to do a quick round of trick or truth. We're going to share a statement with our guests, and they are going to tell us if it's real or exaggerated. So we're going to start with Francesca. So let us know if this is real or exaggerated. Some counterfeiters use AI to create fake listings. Is that a trick or truth?
Oh, that's unfortunately absolutely true. They'll use AI not only to steal all of the clients' copy and brand names, but they'll take the videos and the photos, and now they use AI just to change just enough to try and circumvent copyright. Keyword is try.
I love it. And I just love a good spooky game. So Tamara, over to you. Trademark squatters target big brands only. Trick or truth?
That is a trick. I mean, no brand is immune to counterfeiting, big, little, startup. Fair game across the board.
Francesca, I'm throwing this one back to you. Counterfeit goods are mostly a fashion problem. Trick or truth?
No, they affect every single industry.
Sadly.
That's a bummer. Okay, let's see this one. Bonus points if you've got a spooky example to share of the strangest counterfeit goods you have ever encountered. Francesca, let's start with you.
Oh, wow. Okay, I'll give you one that kind of ties on the AI issue. So we have a client who is a very well-known personal brand who launched a consumer product line. She went from starting the company in 1 month to the second month having mass copycats and having her name, image, and likeness all over the internet, thousands of listings, thousands of fake sites, and they basically use AI to create a AI influencer that looked like her but wasn't her. And I think that was the spookiest thing I've seen. Very, very strange and violating feeling to have your name, image, and likeness replicated all over the internet, but then having them modify it with AI to create this like pseudo identity is very spooky and wasn't great for her.
That's so creepy. That's like worse than having a stalker.
It's really, I had one client tell me, like, it's like, imagine you're sitting watching TV, with your family, and then all of a sudden someone walks in the door and just takes the TV off the wall and like walks out. And you call the cops and they're like, sorry, there's nothing you can do. Well, that's why you have to call ESCA and Vaudra because we know what to do.
That's right. That's right. It's a whole different level,
Yeah. And it keeps changing, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but
Yeah.
the AI technology piece to it has just like kept all of us, like the brand protection specialists and lawyers, on our toes.
Yeah, yeah. It also makes me think of royalty. I'm sure there's so many videos out there of just impersonations of them. It's kind of scary. But
Yeah.
Tamara,
Yeah,
how
like
about you?
Thanks.
Oh,
Yeah,
strangest counterfeit goods. So there's a time where I would have said like wild Alaskan fish oil because that seemed bizarre back in the day, or replacement toothbrush heads. But these days I'd say synthetic urine.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh
so
my gosh.
gross.
Because I mean,
Is that for like drug
specialty
tests?
Drug testing?
yeah. Well, it
Um,
can be used for a lot of different things, but it's now widely used in ranging from like pharmaceutical testing to medical training, because artificial urine is safer. You don't have to worry about all the biohazards. But it's also like a gag gift, fun prank, which goes along with the spooky Halloween theme. But we kind of also joke, it's like, if you have fake urine, does that make it real?
That's so not funny. So gross.
So
That's crazy. I don't know what to say to that.
that's how we are every day, where it's like, huh,
something new.
That's
What will they
interesting.
think of next? Truly.
Wow. Okay, well, let's move on from that. I don't know how to top that, but we're gonna jump in and dig a bit deeper now. So what are some of the biggest shifts or major changes that you both have seen in counterfeit and squatter activity over the past few years? Francesca, I'll start with you. Can you tell us your thoughts on that?
It's the volume and scale and scope has
Mm-hmm.
just exponentially, it cripples brands. It's not only crippling Fortune 500 companies and big brands. The second that a small business goes viral,
Mm-hmm.
they can go from 200,000 in sales to 3 million in sales overnight if a video hits on TikTok, and they could build this really big brand. And now they're having legal problems the size of a Fortune 500 company. And these are inventors, creators, founders that have pretty much spent their whole lives and livelihoods trying to build a product that has done well in the US economy, but they
Mm-hmm.
are competing with illegal businesses that, with a click of a button, can reproduce their websites, take their influencer and affiliate marketing videos and funnel sales away. So I think that's what it is it's the scope, the scale, the size, and also the targets. It's not just Fortune 500 companies. I
Mm-hmm.
call them emerging brands, where they really make between 10 to 50 million a year, where they're real businesses, they're doing well, huge consumer, huge presence online and brand recognition, that they're now under attack because the big brands can obviously fight with good lawyers. It's the emerging brands they target because it's expensive, to some, it is expensive. It's totally an investment to build brand protection. And it's the sophistication. So if you get a business owner that doesn't really understand the importance of brand protection or how to fight these fakes and the cost investment, and they're not willing to make the investment, it could destroy their brand overnight.
And it just moves so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's used to be, months, it's weeks quicker. If it's just fraudulent sites, like they're just throwing up fake pages to steal consumers' credit card info, it's minutes. It literally, I've seen one case where a very big brand launched their new site, and it was literally a matter of minutes that their site was copied and stolen.
Oh my gosh.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
My goodness. So on that note, how are enforcement strategies evolving to keep up? Tamara, that's a question for you. Like, how do you keep the pace? How do you evolve to keep up with all
Well,
these
I mean,
fast movers?
sometimes for us, from our experience, what we've seen is sometimes you have to slow down for a minute to speed up and be more intentional in how you're gonna put that plan together. And we've also seen a lot more collaboration across vendors and internal departments to try to be a little more strategic. And it's really hard when everybody is running around with their hair on fire because of these crazy sites that pop up. But it's like it's like the counterfeiters thrive in chaos, and that's how they rocket to the top. So
Mm-hmm.
trying to and it's so hard to calm everybody down for a second to be like, okay, so let's lock down your IP. Let's do all these different things, and involving attorneys, involving other service providers, to figure out what that best strategy is. Because otherwise, I mean, there is this, and it was Francesca's phrase that I still love, where she's like, you're building the plane in the air. And there are a lot of brands that have that kind of, I mean, because all of a sudden you're in the middle of the limelight and everything is exploding.
Yeah.
But you really trying to have that intentionality. And I mean, of course, a lot of that you can get further a lot faster if you're working with folks that have been doing it for a really long time. So it's like, okay, here's what you need in your toolbox. Here's how we can put it together quickly, and kind of going from there. But it's all of that kind of collaboration and kind of pulling together to kind of like, all right, where's the priorities? What are the channels we need to focus on? You can't focus on the entire web. Like, focus on where the eyeballs are going, focus on where the traffic's going. And so then you can kind of prioritize and scale from there.
So building that plane in the air for the crash landing, right?
No, for the success.
Not for the crash.
So not to settle down quietly and survive, but to just keep going in the air smoothly.
Yeah, and to thrive. I think like that's just the new reality we're in, is things are moving so fast that the playbook that worked 5 years ago is a different playbook today, and it's going to be different in the next 3 to 6 months.
Right.
Already we're starting to see difference in like how courts are processing some of the counterfeiting cases with Schedule A, and we're navigating that. There's pushback on those cases, but candidly, they are the most effective tool when you have mass high volume fakes. You know, if you have 400, 500 Chinese sellers that are all coordinating together to file 500 lawsuits would not only make the lawyer's job crazy, but the court's job. So I think like even trying to navigate that from a legal perspective on how enforcement strategies are going to be most effective in fighting the volume. Everyone's trying to figure it out. And how you do that is by literally building the plane in the air. You just have to test, try, throw things, see what sticks, and see what's the most impactful.
Right. And would you say it's pretty reactive then? Strategies can be pretty reactive.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Because if you're fighting, that means you're not doing it proactively. I would love if a client came to me and said, okay, we're going to build a brand protection program in anticipation of our success.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. People unfortunately only move when there's pain, especially if you're a founder and you're bootstrapping it. But even we have billion-dollar clients that did not have brand protection programs for years, and now we're retroactively building it out.
That's so interesting, because as a TMA, I very much dislike seeing a reactive portfolio. And I always say this, I want a proactive portfolio, but I just think that in this line of work, that may not be totally possible. Is there a way?
Tamara, what do you think?
Well, you know, I think there's that, especially if you're bootstrapping it, especially if you're starting at the beginning, it's like all of the things like it's like really having the faith and confidence in what you're doing, that just assume you're going to make it big, so that you put the security in place on the front end so that you don't get railroaded on the back end. But like really figuring out like, okay, if you want to be proactive, it's like, okay, so this is my brand name. I'm going to put it on frickin' everything. Don't just don't just put it on the package, put it on the product. Like, find other ways so that then, like, if you want to be proactive, getting your name on everything from the get-go, so that then when it's used, or when it's like, and thinking through like the more creative strategies of like how your packaging is unique, and how because I know Francesca's seen it too, where all of a sudden you have this, oh yeah, this cute little bottle. It's being associated with a particular brand, whether or not they have trade dress established. And now the counterfeiters have just put a BS name on it. And it's that infringing, that confusingly similar, that then suddenly, depending on the platform, depending on what kind of IP you have, you can't enforce against it. And so it's, yeah.
See, that's spooky. That's scary. That's scary. Talk about scary.
Every day,
yeah,
it's something new and crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy that you see. It feels like at times like you're in war and your client is being attacked and the brand is being attacked. And so how I literally think, okay, as an army general, we can't just react. We can't just go out there. There needs to be strategy. We're trained professionals. So having a strategy, figuring out what IP we can file to protect the client's product, not just like Tamara was saying, they'll remove the word. So it's even, I think what's happening now is they've gotten smarter. It's not just counterfeiting where they're copying the trademark and the product. They're taking off the product name and they're trying to change just something a little bit to fall into that dupe category. So I think like the dupes is the spookiest of all the categories. And we have to stop and think, how can we get really creative and protect the client's products so that when we go out and fight, we can actually get some wins and be really strategic and test to see what works and then double down on what works.
Yeah. Ooh. Really freaky. But I'm hearing like a lot of gaps. There's gaps, I think, in your clients' strategies. But maybe that's where you and Tamara come in. Am I reading this wrong? Because the word unsettling comes to mind for me. And that brings me to kind of my next question in this whole thing. So that being said, what's the most surprising or unsettling case you've encountered? One that really illustrates how creative counterfeiters and squatters can be, because I feel like you said being at war, it's almost like they have one above you and one above the clients and one above the brands. They sound pretty smart, which is very scary as well. They do their homework. So this is all very spooky and unsettling and freaky,
Well,
right?
I mean, it's amazing how much time, if you don't have to devote anything to R&D, to idea generation, and you're just going to literally rip off somebody's blood, sweat, and tears, all of the time you have to spend on doing that because you got to skip all the hard work. So, I mean, it is literally, it's just the profiting from the chaos that they create and just kind of being able to continue to amp it up so that people are kind of chasing their tails as you just develop more and more like the volume. And then, you know, as investigators, something that ends up being really frustrating is the amount of fraud that goes along with it, because we have seen just, you know, there was the transparency that was enacted across some of the platforms, particularly Walmart and Amazon, with, you know, revealing more of the seller information. And of course, now that is used as like, it may give consumers some comfort because they feel like they know who they're buying from, but you don't know who you're buying from because all that information is such BS. And it's really like it's added to the challenge from the investigative standpoint as well as legal, because now you've got all of this fraudulent information that's going back to overseas, going to just kind of like these identity manufacturer, like just, I mean, they just pop them out like rabbits. So.
And to answer your question about gaps, yes. Yes, we're legal service providers, but we also need to think like business people and understand that getting business buy-in is everything. You can have a gold standard roadmap on how to protect a business and know exactly what to do, but if you don't have executive buy-in from a Fortune 500 company or the founder, you will not get anything done. And so I think that's something that a lot of us, it is a piece of a good brand protection program is advocating and communicating to the higher ups on why this is important for the overall business strategy. Because a lot of the business teams are focused on growth and sales and revenue, as they should. But then where we come in is we build systems, processes so that they can continue to focus on those things while they're sleeping. We have AI software that scans the internet, is making detections. The lawyers are reviewing and analyzing, putting them into buckets, which ones should get cease and desist, which ones should get taken down, and which ones we send to Tamara to do test buys to get that intelligence and actual build a target list to do cases on. Like that, you know, hit pause, reverse. That is a gold standard program. But getting people to invest in that is something, in my experience, that I have played that is a big part of my job, not just from emerging brands, but also from some of our bigger clients.
Yeah, it's a huge partnership. It's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, that was some questions I had too. Just that there is, I know it's hard. Like I also lived in chaos, especially during my Hershey days. I'm still in-house now, but so I get it. But and the buy-in too is definitely important. Luckily, we have buy-in now. We don't have to deal with a lot of counterfeit goods in my industry right now. But are there any other proactive steps, either emerging brands, well-established brands could take? Like, do you guys? I mean, it sounds like you're doing a lot of proactive work with your clients. Do you offer training? Like, do you come in and talk to any of executives? I'm just curious. Yeah, if you do that currently.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, you
go
wanted to
ahead,
add,
Tamara.
Francesca? Well, I was going to say, when you start talking about proactive steps,
Mhm.
and it's amazing sometimes, even with uh, more established brands, you would think that they have all their IP lined up. And of course, obviously, we're investigators, and the good of the investigation, it's only as good as the IP it has to kind of be
Right.
able to back up potential enforcement. So then that kind of kicks it over to counsel. But
Mhm.
making sure that your marks are registered with USPTO, making sure that you have your marks registered with US Customs for protection at the border, making sure that you've like thought through all the different ways that you could potentially protect those other aspects that could give you enforceability down the road, as
Mhm.
well as securing, your website, your related social media handles, making sure you have your brands and your trademarks registered with platforms that, even if you're not on those sales platforms at this moment, like Amazon, Walmart, wherever, eBay, Alibaba, like going ahead and like starting to like, and those, that's kind of like the proactive work that I know
Mhm.
Francesca and Vaudra, that we both do, when you're trying to kind of lay the groundwork so that now it's like, okay, we're going to at least have some tracks. And so then we can, depending on what we need to incorporate at any given time, depending on where the pain points are, then you kind of have those assets in place, because it makes it a hell of a lot easier to do it, to the extent that you can try to be proactive with like some of these thought processes, the better. And,
Mhm.
there's no ideal scenario, but it's like, okay, we always kind of talk about some very basic things. That's like, okay, you've at least got to do these things.
Right.
And then of course that ends up involving like the internal education piece, and like making sure that your folks on the front line that may be fulfilling the orders, the online orders, you know, if they get consumer complaints, or if they have some kind of volume order that comes through, that they know that, hey, maybe we should flag this with the brand protection team or retail arbitrage, so that
Mhm.
it's not something that's literally going to go right into the gray market once it's shipped. Or
Right.
that, because then they're also experiencing all the other challenges with, the credit card fraud and all of those things. So, I mean, I think there's a lot more intelligence on that side, as they continue to kind of like, they're also trying to protect the business from just the financial impact aspect. But then that ends up, flowing right back to brand protection.
Whew, I love it.
Yeah, I think
That's all on my docket. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with being proactive, it's actually one of the reasons why I started the firm. So ESCA Legal, it started with me, it started with an associate, and then it just kind of really took off, all centering around brand protection. And the
Mhm.
focus is, how can we be proactive and strategic and utilize technology to get ahead of some of the fakes. So the number one, the first thing we do is we always do an audit. So we audit the client's business, we'll look at their portfolio, find all of the gaps in the portfolio and where they have the highest risks in their IP portfolio, whether it's not having copyrights or not having trade dress. And then we get those tools so that we have our war chest, we have our arsenal to then go out and fight. And then when we analyze the listings, rather than just look at spreadsheets, we ask that they get set up with an AI software. There's so many different legal brand protection platforms now, but at a minimum, getting something to scan the internet so we can look at the data in a portal and then do our legal analysis, figuring out who we want to go after. That makes
Mhm.
us feel, and our clients feel, like we're ahead, versus where I think a lot of lawyers unfortunately get stuck is they wait for their clients to bring problems to them, or even outside counsel. it feels like in a vacuum sometimes, and you just wait until in-house counsel sends you an email. We tell clients we function as fractional in-house IP counsel for brand protection, where we're periodically auditing your IP portfolio, we're reviewing all the data in the portal, we're giving recommendations proactive as a part of a system and a strategy, because we know that somewhere there's a real business. It's an illegal business, but they are businesses that are set up to go after and take down our clients. So we need to have the same. You need to have a living, breathing 24/7 program that's operating.
That is
Absolutely.
so exciting.
I know.
Yeah.
It is a lot
getting
of
me
fun.
pumped.
Like it's yeah, it is a lot of fun, and um we always feel for the brands and what they're going through, and especially when there's a scenario that all of a sudden it goes viral online, and you're just trying to figure out, okay, how quickly can we identify this party, get them taken down, get the kind of the facts in place, the evidence in place, so the brand can take appropriate action, because that's key. You got to have the evidence. But it every day is different. Like you're constantly like innovating and figuring out different ways to do things and learning. Like you want to stay ahead of the counterfeiters and the infringers, and they're trying to do the exact same thing. So it's kind of like you're always just keeping your eyes open, keeping your ears open to like, what are the new trends? And of course, those counterfeiters, they are so fast. I know Francesca's seen it. Like they are so fast on trends. They pivot so much faster than a legit brand because they can. Like
Yeah, and
they have
how
no
do you
rules.
think how do you think they do that?
Oh,
They're online. There's like when we say counterfeiter or an infringer, it's not like one person that decides, "Ooh, I'm going to do this." Like these are sophisticated business entities. They're organized, they have networks, there's supply chains. They basically will sit on TikTok and Amazon, and they find whoever gets to the top of the list, whoever gets on the top, Amazon top 10 seller list. Boom, they have people going out in production, working with their factories, and then they start market testing. So they'll put product and they'll pop up a couple listings, and they're seeing how's the brand going to react. Are they going to react? Okay. Because maybe they're not watching, which most businesses are not. How do they find out? People send them listings and they eventually find out. But then what are they doing about it? Are they just doing takedowns? Takedowns are a game of whack-a-mole where a lot of businesses get stuck. And unfortunately, a lot of the software vendors, they're amazing, but they also will sell the clients, hey, this is how we stop the problem. And that's not true. It is a piece of a bigger puzzle. It is a piece to a program, but that's just the beginning. So if you're just doing takedowns, these businesses on the other side are market testing and saying, oh, good, they're just doing takedowns. Let's now kick in our network that's in a basement with hundreds of people. Let's just create new listings, and then they'll play that game. And unfortunately, it takes a business, a sophisticated business owner or a legal team to really push this, push the brand protection piece and educate the business teams to understand why it's important and how playing takedowns can ultimately cost the business millions of dollars a year, if not their business.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I would love to hear more about the AI piece and how that plays into everything. But just really quick, I think you'd be surprised how many even big, well-established brands probably still have major gaps in coverage, right? And they don't have a playbook. So, I think just day to day, they're also putting out fires, supporting all the different areas in the business. But just as a side note, I think it'd be great to have you two maybe do like a webinar or idea exchange, and just as a starting place for some people, so we can maybe chat about that. But we do a lot with the TMA community, these idea exchanges. So I think a lot of TMAs could benefit from that too. It might be embarrassed to admit they don't really have a good program. So,
For sure.
but yes, yeah. So maybe we could jump into AI too, and just how that's playing into it. Is it, are we seeing it as a new tool for brand owners and bad actors? I know in my Hershey days, we had started using it several years back to try to combat the marijuana infringements too, and kind of fighting them at the source, which we thought was China, right? The people making these labels for all like the vaping and marijuana companies. So that seemed to help. But just curious what you guys are using right now and experiencing with respect to AI. Either one of
We
you can
use
start. Yeah.
Sure. Like, let's just get this out of the way. So, lawyers are terrified of AI for ethics and confidentiality. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's number one. You have to make sure you're using a secure system. Microsoft has one, and ChatGPT also has different options where it's not just the free
Mhm.
version.
Yeah.
And we're getting there, right? Think of when email came out, everyone thought, oh, wow, I would never put confidential information or documents online, right? Or to this random new software, and look at the world we're in. So I think we're just at the beginning of it. And it definitely is still risky to integrate into legal practices because we have the higher bar. But there are things you can do. So we use a lot of the AI for anything that's public and non-confidential just to make us move quicker and faster. So we're currently building out some AI tools to help us be faster with the Schedule A cases that we do and aggregate the data to make connections across the defendants and the sellers. Because these are networks. They're typically, if you find one infringer, they usually are infringing not just one brand. They diversify like any business, right? It's an illegal business, but they're business people. So they usually are counterfeiting other brands, which you'll start to see. So by drawing those connections can also help us in court. We're in spreadsheets all day, every day. So we're thinking, how can we get out of spreadsheets and build some of this tech to use AI to help us analyze data and crawling the internet. You can use AI software to actually move faster and find more of the detections using AI. So those are just some examples and some of the key issues that the legal industry is dealing with right now.
That's great.
We've seen it in a number of different ways, especially from the, like, as we use it for detection. Also, we do a ton of undercover work. And so AI is helpful as a kind of, I mean, it's a great idea generation tool when you're figuring out different strategies to pursue a potential bad actor. Because now, especially with the amount of fraud, with the amount of more savvy bad guys, counterfeiters, it doesn't take, it's not as easy as it once was to get a subject of investigation to talk to you. You have to build more of a relationship. And that's something that AI can't do. You have to, like, and so sometimes there's also that patience piece, which can be in short supply. But you have to have more of the dialogue, and AI is definitely helpful when you're talking about something you know nothing about, because we're doing investigations involving synthetic urine, vape and cannabis, automotive parts, health and beauty. Like, you can spin it off of your own, knowledge and experience to a degree, but at a certain point, it's really helpful to kind of amp up like a quick download on, like, okay, here's what I need to know to be able to have this conversation, because that is what makes those interactions more real when you're working in the undercover world. Just kind of a different way that it helps us from that kind of like brainstorming standpoint.
It's not getting rid of lawyers or investigators. It's just making us work smarter and better.
It's a tool. It's a new tool that you can use, and it's going to help you. So it's not scary. That's one thing that's not scary. You'd use it to your benefit. Yeah. Here's something scary to touch on: enforcement budgets. How are these issues impacting smaller brands or startups who might not have the larger enforcement budgets, and what can they do to protect themselves early on? Francesca, let's start with you.
Sure. There's always something that you can do. And I tell clients, if you're in business, obviously your objective is to succeed. So you should anticipate your success. And if you're going to be successful, success is not just a 5 to 10 year journey anymore. You can be an instant success overnight. And what happens is if you do go viral or you do really well with the internet, you can become a very big brand and go from making $250,000 to 3, 5, or 10 million within a year. So those are what's called emerging brands. These are brands that do really well, and now all of a sudden they have a ton of visibility. And their roadmap to date is, let's get as many eyes on our product as possible. But what they're not thinking of is who is looking at them and what eyes. After a certain point, once you're getting that level of attention, you're getting the wrong people to look at your products. And this is where the infringers and the counterfeiters and the scammers even come into play. So for any business that's anticipating their success, there's really 3 things to be doing. Number 1, you should be monitoring the internet to see if you're going to start getting knocked off. So whether it's you're doing it manually, or you're hiring someone to do it manually, or you're using AI tools, that needs to be a part of it. Number 2, what IP protections do you have in place? You can't go out and fight unless you have the right IP. So what does that mean? That means registering your trademarks, getting copyrights, looking to see if you can get design patents, and if not, can you get trade dress for the product shape or the product packaging? All of those tools collectively are going to be critical once you get knocked off. And then very importantly, start doing test buys. If you're a small business, do a couple yourself, of course, that's fine. But the way that you do a test buy versus the way Vaudra and Tamara and her team do them are very different, and it makes a huge difference. It could be the difference of you getting a successful case and going after someone and not being able to because you didn't do the right evidence gathering. So, Tamara, maybe that's a good segue for you to talk about the importance of test buys. But before I do, I have to finish the third 3 thing. I'm sorry. So the third is getting a process in place. So having someone on your team be responsible for this, and then coordinating with lawyers and investigators and brand protection experts like Tamara.
Well, thanks, Francesca. And I would say too, like when you talk about that process in place, it's like the process in place from the front lines, your customer service reps, so that that intel that could be the next big counterfeiter, when somebody is complaining about something, like you can build it all the way up, because then as you're also trying to build and show that impact and get that business buy-in, now you've got all of the customer service like feedback of your consumers saying, here's what we're finding, and it's harmful, it's not, they're deceived, all of that. But so when it comes to evidence and making those test buys, I mean, Francesca, you're absolutely right in the value of like making sure you have, solidly collected, verifiable evidence that has a clean chain of custody. And really, like, evidence starts from when you first step foot, digital foot, on that website. And you want to capture everything from start to finish. And that's from where you start with the transaction and you're visiting the website, and all of the available contact information, details, who is, everything tied to that site or to that listing, especially if there's a possibility of it getting removed. You want to make sure you always capture it in a digital verifiable way. So you want to make sure you capture that digital evidence on the front end, and then taking it all the way through the transaction, the receipt, and if you're going to be making buys, especially if you're going to do it yourself, which absolutely, we make a ton of buys. It doesn't always need to be an investigator. If you want to do that kind of first sample to be like, okay, we think this is a problem. Okay, now it's a problem. Then you pass it off to an expert, because then it's like, okay, you have a neutral third party collecting this information. There's also the fact that we have undercover entities duly established for this purpose. So we're going to also start building additional information through the process when we get that sample in, from the monetary chain, follow the money on that side, on the credit cards, to the addresses, the shipping label. There's just so many little pieces that can help build that kind of robust evidence package. And you never know what little lead is going to be the one that's like, okay, now we actually know who we're dealing with. I mean, the money trail is key, but you also have the shipping information, which can be great sometimes. It can also just kind of identify a bigger issue. But there's a lot to it.
And what's not so scary is perhaps getting your TMA involved on the supportive side. They can do your US copyright filings, the prosecution side of the trademark, certificates of registration filing, application filings, DMCA stuff. They can support with some of the US Customs recordals and what have you. Get that on the docket. Looking up who has stuff and domain tools and what have you. Just throw it in the TMA aspect as well. So thank you very much for that.
Another tool that I don't know if we've touched on really. I mean, we've kind of talked about the feed of information, your people on the ground, your consumers, your sales reps, the people that are out there representing your product, making sure that they are also educated on how the information should flow when there's leads, but also using galvanizing your fan base, especially if you have an emerging brand, to make sure they're educated on the channels of where to get the genuine product. And so they can help you call out the suspect. Because that is, I mean, you've got all those eyes. And so and especially these younger generations that are looking for that why, they're looking for that purpose, and they're pissed when a emerging brand that's this mom with kids out of her house, whatever your brand story is, then all of a sudden you've got these people that are just greedy and they're trying to profit from it.
That's
you can
right.
use that as part of your messaging to help galvanize your fan base.
That's
to
right.
help your protection. Now you just have to have a way to kind of channel it. So
brand sensitivity. I talk about that a lot. Yeah, that's huge in my book. I take it personally sometimes.
So Tamara, and it's a great thing to end on. We came up with an acronym, and A is the last one. That's amplify. You want to amplify your brand protection efforts. You want to tell people that you are doing lawsuits and that you're enforcing and where they can go and buy real. So it's a fun, easy one. It's ESCA. So the E is for evaluate. Do regular audits of your IP. Find out where the gaps are. Once you know what the gaps are, S is for secure. Actually go out and register your trademarks, copyrights, patents, get customs recordals, get the registrations and the recordals on file. C is combat. So once you have those things, go out and fight and analyze the data to figure out how you're going to fight. And then the last is amplify, which is really share your story, have press releases, newsletters, social media content, YouTube, where you're going on, you're telling people, this is our IP, we're aggressively enforcing it, and we took down X hundreds of sellers. We've collected hundreds of thousands of dollars. It sends a signal to your customers that you care and that you're protecting their value, because for a lot of brands, these are either premium products or they're more expensive products versus the knockoffs, and people want to know that they're getting the value of the product to pay for the real thing. They want you to be doing this work, cleaning up the marketplace to maintain the value of what they've purchased. And then also amplifies a connection with advocacy. So work with the platforms, make sure you have a contact at Amazon, Walmart, Alibaba. And if you don't work with one of us, Tamara, myself, or brand protection specialist, usually we go and we know who these people are. We work with them professionally, but we also see them in person at brand protection events and at IP events. So that advocacy piece, that last piece, it's the last, but it probably is one of the most important, is working with your community to get your story out and working with stakeholders to fight the fakes.
Absolutely. I love the way you did the acronym with ESCA. That's
Took
great.
a while, but we got there.
Fight the fakes.
Yeah.
All right, and now onto the Adminspiration section. So each month we ask our guests to nominate a trademark administrator or a TMA ally who inspires others in the community or those who support and develop TMAs. And we have 2 this month. So the first, nominated by Tamara, is Bree Van Til. So we all know Brie Ventil. She is Alt Legal's head of education and community and resident English nerd. She authors the popular I Love Trademarks newsletter, where she attempts to educate trademark practitioners about IP and legal practice news while cramming in as many puns as possible. Brie also hosts Alt Legal's monthly webinar series. She leads the Trademark Administrators Exchange, or the TMAE, and the Trademark Professionals Exchange, or the TMPE, and plans and hosts Alt Legal's educational events. As a former English instructor, Brie puts the commas where they go in Alt Legal's writing and wherever else people will listen to her. Congratulations, Brie. And then next we have Lindsay Harris, who was nominated by Francesca. Lindsay is a freelance trademark paralegal with over 20 years of experience who partners with law firms across the country to provide flat fee, high quality trademark support from clearance searches to filings and portfolio management. She loves the balance of creativity and precision in trademark work and is passionate about helping entrepreneurs protect the brands they pour their hearts into. What inspires her most about the TMA community is how collaborative and generous it is. She loves that everyone shares knowledge so freely, lifting each other up and helping elevate the entire profession. Congratulations, Lindsay.
Join us next time for a powerful new episode as we spotlight the leadership journeys of women in IP. We will be joined by Catherine Healy of Caribbean IP and Mariana Noli of Noli IP Solutions and her story in the marking. And we'll explore the pivotal moments that shaped their careers, the challenges they've overcome, and how the workplace is evolving for women in this dynamic field. We'll discuss how women leaders are shaping the industry, the importance of membership and their sponsorship, and the unique role women play in driving global change. Then, looking ahead, we'll consider hopes for the future of leadership, strategies for balance and support, and what true gender equity in IP could look like worldwide. You don't want to miss it.
The TMA Talk Show is a production of Alt Legal and the Trademark Administrators Exchange. And before we go, a big thanks to our amazing team. Content producer, Tracy Cook. Chief editor, Jernez Owens. Editorial producer, Brie Ventil. Social media manager, Sam Hands. And original music by Sunny St. John. This was made by TMAs for TMAs. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and always keep transforming your tomorrow.